Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, grab your drink, grab the kids, call your auntie, your nana, your uncle, your granny. Sit back, relax. We'll be right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.
Grenada, the time has come. It's the big showdown in the first ever Classic Lighting and the Communal Credit Union Invitational 2025. Come witness the Royal Grenada Police Force and His Majesty's prison officers take on the nation's busmen and women in an epic 4x1 relay. Then it's Flow versus DG Cell. And don't miss out, Nawasa, who will be flooding Grinlek in the ultimate relay. All this and more, May 17th and 18th at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Adults, $30. Children, $15. Season passes are available. It's a showdown like no other. Be there.
This event sponsored by the Communal Credit Union, NTRC, Dana's Restaurant, Blue Bubbles, PA Rentals, Event Supplies, D's Sports Shop, George F. Huggins and Company Limited, Flow, Mikey Live, Poly Natural Spring Water, MTV, GBN, and Digicel.
Be there.
Today's episode sponsored by Classic Lighting at Communal. And they're inviting you to their Invitational 2025 at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium, May the 17th and 18th, and that is Saturday and Sunday coming. So see you there. See you there. First off, let me share with you a correspondence received from the Integrity Commission. Remember, I wrote to the Integrity Commission on 3 specific issues, and it reads, it was dated the 5th of May, 2025, and it reads, Ms. Jennifer Simon, St. George's. Dear Ms. Simon, we acknowledge receipt of your 3 complaints which you filed with the Integrity Commission on the 17th of April, 2025. Please be advised that the Commission will give due consideration to your complaints and advise in due course. And it says, kind regards, signed by Jillian M.S. Bristol, and that's the chairperson of the Integrity Commission. Now, I find a letter kind of like the one I got from the Commissioner of Police on the drones when I made a complaint on the drones. But we'll see. So they have to do their investigation right now, and then they'll, I guess, get back to me along the way if they need more supporting evidence, or eventually come to me and say yay or nay. So I'll keep you posted. You're part of the family. Must keep you posted. Now we're going to have some updates, and one of the updates is Lackalum. Now, in this Lackalum update, I've been asked to explain the saga all over again. Now, some persons wasn't quite clear. So some persons were not quite clear on certain aspects of the segment on Lackalum. And well, since the last program, I am in a better position to bring the story to you. I was invited to a meeting with some of the residents of Lackalum a few days ago. Now, it could have been all of the residents, whoever wanted to come up. It wasn't a selected few. They had a meeting and invited myself, the leader of His Majesty's opposition was also invited, and the caretaker for the St. David's constituency for the NNP, Ms. Nolene Thompson. She was also present at the meeting. Now, for the benefit of those of you who didn't quite understand the Lakalom saga, and the ones of you in disbelief, here goes. Now, some residents of the Lakalom housing project was invited down to the stadium by the Housing Authority of Grenada, the HAG. In the invite, they were asked to dress formal. The invite, they were asked to dress formal. But of course, it was for photo ops. We know why, and we saw why. We're going to show you again that photo of the Prime Minister handing over the envelope. And what we thought was the deed, but in that envelope was the letter. There was no deed handed out. Residents, of course, thinking it was to collect their deed for the property, got dressed up and went down to the stadium. When they got there, they were handed letters to sign, letters of offer of sale. Listen to this, letters of offer of sale to current occupants of property owned by the Housing Authority of Grenada. So right there and then, they were told that the properties that they thought was theirs, some of them 15, 14, 13, 12 years, that they finished paid up for, thinking it was theirs, they're now being told that the property belonged to the Housing Authority of Grenada. Now, these people, as I said, have already paid up for their property. Some of them signed their agreement in 2009 under the former NDC administration of Tillman Thomas. Now, I'll read to you the relevant piece of the document signed by the property owners back then. I did not have that in my possession before. Of course, I do now. And so let me read to you what that document, piece of information said. Now, it's captioned, it's headed, Key Points Covered by the Lease. Simon Boulevard Village is to be maintained as a residential village, and all residents are obligated to observe the following. 1, purchase price, and they gave the purchase price there, and payable as follows. The sum of $200 to be paid on or before you sign, right? The balance of the purchase price to be paid in installment payments for a maximum of 7 years from the date of the lease. So it's up to you how quick you want to pay it off or wanted to pay it off, or you can drag it out to the 7 years. Those were the instructions. 2, pay the suppliers of electricity, metered water, cable, and telephone. Pay all rates and taxes. Pay all rates and taxes. Keep the place in good condition always, especially the plumbing system, electrical system. Clear the inverts at the back and maintain the floors and the roof. No changes to the exterior of the houses whatsoever without approval. No storage of waste or other materials on the compound. No fire hazard on the compounds. Insurance on the property. Permission to enter house by ministry officials. No disturbances, noise, nuisance. no illegal activities, gambling, prostitution, incest, drug use or sale, single family accommodations only, no tenants subletting on the leasing. Houses should not be unoccupied for extended periods, no advertising, merchandising or soliciting on the premises, no pets or breeding of animals, no derelict vehicles to be parked alongside houses or roadway. Observe the traffic directions when instituted. Become members of the Simon Bolivar organization and observe the rules and guidelines agreed upon by the organization. Government will maintain the external sewage system. Receiver will be appointed by government to repossess property if tenant breaches the lease agreement. In addition to the landlord's right to re-entry, the lease may be determined in the following manner. One, by the landlord upon 1 month's prior written notice if the tenant remains in default of his obligations under this lease after the applicable cure periods. Two, by the landlord upon 6 months prior notice in writing given by the landlord to the tenant. And three, by the tenant upon 6 months prior written notice for any reason whatsoever, or in lieu of said notice, upon payment to the landlord of the sum equivalent to 1/3 of the purchase price. Nowhere does this say that they have to pay for their lands separately after paying for their house, because they gave them a cost of the property. It wasn't separated. It was never separated, right? Now, how is it? After the resident has paid up for their property, the Housing Authority of Grenada is saying to the property owners that they have to pay separate for the land, and offering them the opportunity to become legal owners of the lands and buildings. So they separate it on their own. So the Housing Authority of Grenada separated it somewhere along the way to charge them now, and they're offering them the opportunity to become the legal owners of the land and building. So you see, what they've done is illegal according to what the people had in their agreement, right? Saying now they have to pay for the land, and saying to them what they paid for really was just the building, and now they have to pay for the land separately. In one case, as much as $15,000. They're charging that tenant because she has a little extra piece of land, I guess, because she's at the end. And she has a little extra piece of land because that building, as she told me, was where they had the office when they were doing the development. So what she bought initially was a shell because it was an office, and she did all her little interior and stuff. And there's this extra little piece of land, I guess that's where they used to park or whatever, right? So she is being charged $15,000. $15,000. And so something I got wrong last week, I mentioned that when they signed the letter, they were collecting the deed. When they signed the letter, they were collecting the deed to take to the financial institution. That was incorrect. They signed the letter, and they had to take the letter to the financial institution. They never saw the deed. Nobody ever saw the deed. Nobody touched the deed. Nobody touched the deed. But interestingly, the photo op with the Prime Minister and the young lady, if you look on your screen, you'll see it. That photo op said 39 Grenadians, with the Prime Minister handing her the envelope, 39 Grenadians received titles under government's regularization program. And it went on to say, in a historic moment on April the 30th, 2025, 39 individuals officially became landowners through the government of Grenada land tenure regularization program, led by Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell and Ministry of Agriculture, Lands, Forestry, and Fisheries, I guess, Honorable Lennox Andrews, right? The handover of deeds marked the first milestone of the transformative initiative launched in May of 2024. Now, that is deception at the highest level. And of course, Mr. Deception is posing, handing out a letter. And let me read the letter. I have it here. The letter which reads, the Housing Authority of Grenada offers you the opportunity to become the legal owner of the land and building hereafter called the property you currently occupied. Papa. Lower down, it says the Housing Authority of Grenada requests that you confirm your acceptance to purchase whatever lot it is, right? By signing, by signing, right? Kindly, well, that's to talk about whichever institution, financial institution they ask you to take. By this notice of offer to purchase, you formally submit your interest in and offer to purchase the said property described herein above. This offer does not constitute a contract for sale. It is agreed that upon acceptance of this offer by the Housing Authority of Grenada, an agreement of sale and purchase must be executed by you, which will govern the terms, condition, and completion of the purchase of the lot. Please note that the offer must be accepted on or before May 30th, 2025. The question is, or else, right? That's the question. By signing this notice of offer to purchase, you declare that you are of legal age and capacity to purchase the said property, a property that they have already purchased. So they had to sign these letters. And of course, some did without even reading it, and others didn't. Of course, when you sign, if you decide to pay, is when you finish paying for the lands, then you would receive the deeds to the land. Never mind the photo op you see with the Prime Minister. And by the way, the representative for that constituency, Deacon Mitchell, the representative for the residents of Lackalome, right? The envelope he's handing out there, inside is a letter is a letter. The Prime Minister, posing with that envelope, knowing that there's no deed in there, there's no title in there, is the highest order of deception, sir. Why would you do that to the residents of Lackaloo? Now, one resident told me she did not sign the letter, but she thought she'd explore her options going to her credit union. And when she got there, she showed them the letter and explained what was told to them, come to their financial institution. The officer took the letter, read it, then called the Grenada Housing Authority, or the Housing Authority of Grenada. And when they came off the phone, said to her that the people in the Housing Authority said that she must sign the letter before she could do business with them. So she quickly signed the letter there and then. That's bullying. That is bullying. They were also told, those who didn't sign and refused to accept the letter, that there are people that can remove them from their property. Yes, their property, paid up property. One person told me they were told that the property can be sold with them in it. Bullying that's taken place from the Housing Authority of Grenada. Bottom line, the government of Grenada, after 12, 13, 14, 15 years, through the Housing Authority of Grenada, is telling the property owners of Lackaloo that the lands their wall structures are on, their property that they paid for before, that the lands that their houses are sitting on have to now be paid for separately, and that the monies they paid up before was just for their houses. No one told them this before. The original document, as you've heard, I read, said nothing about paying separately. When they signed for the property that was distributed at the time. And remember, I said to you last week, I confirmed that with someone who was involved in the distribution of the houses at the time, a member of the Tillman Thomas cabinet, told me, as far as they know, that what they paid for was the property, house and land. House and land. The purchase price. They paid their down payment, and the balance of their purchase price was to be paid over a period of 7 years. Now, someone going by the name Sharon Thomas, under my reel, on the Lackaloo situation, now someone going by the name Sharon Thomas came under my reel on the Lackaloo situation with an interesting post that I'll share with you. Of course, you know how we do things. We share, right? It reads, Jenny, why you don't stop that? Do your homework and get it right. Do you know how many people in Lackaloo have big rides extended on their houses? How many living here and building other houses elsewhere? You need to stop that. Low-income houses for low-income workers, but there is big policeman living here. Jenny, you all need to stop that BS and let everyone pay for their lands. Now, this from someone who supports an administration who preaches putting an end to poverty and giving a hand up instead of a handout. So it's not okay if the people or some of the persons who own property in Lackalum, after paying up for their property, it's not okay if they decide they can, if they have a steady job enough and they can renovate their property. That's not okay. They're supposed to remain in the boondocks, as we say it, right? They're supposed to remain there, right? It's not okay if they can afford, they finish paying for their property and they can afford to purchase a vehicle. There's no buses running up inside Lackaloo. And if they can afford to purchase a property, remember some of these persons who living in Lackaloo would have been kids or young adults, teenagers at the time, and are now adults and working. So you have mommy, daddy, or maybe if it's mommy alone, whoever the adult is in the house, a parent or guardian, should I say, and the young ones, who sometimes 2, 3 of them might be even working. Huh? So because they're living in Lackalome, which was a low-income housing project, they're supposed to stay down there. And if they could afford to purchase a car, that's a sin. So if they could purchase a vehicle, then they should pay for the land that they had already paid for because it was a property they signed an agreement for. You see, that's how we're thinking, because it's only a chosen few that's supposed to move up and up and up, right? It's only a chosen few. Now, I want to play this clip for you of the acting prime minister designate on who was the one who want to keep people poor and gives handouts instead of handouts. Just listen to him.
There are more than one ways for someone to keep you attached to them, right? And I have no apology in saying this is the concept of the NMP. You understand? And let me just say that before I go, because I must say that. I want to go off track, but I must say that. As you're in politics, so you have to have strategies. And the NMP strategy is this. If everybody in this room have to depend on me for $1 or $1 million every day, I will have you as a puppet. But if, in politics, no, if I were to liberate you and make you independent, that's a chance, because I cannot have control of you. Now, the NMP strategy is to give you a handout every day, have you coming back for that handout 10 years after, and you depend on that handout. Our strategy is to uplift people.
Who are these people they've uplifted? Who are these people? Because only people you see being uplifted is people like him, who the Grenada Development Bank, the NDC board of directors, they gave close to $3 million on loans where he's not supposed to access as a legislature, right? Who are the people being uplifted? The small circle that surrounds Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, his friends, his families, the nation builders. Ordinary people, the young people, the youth of today, they remain the same, and some in worse of conditions. Tell me how much of you can say that you've been uplifted under this NDC administration. And so, Miss Sharon Thomas, what happened to the ones who don't have a steady job. And what's wrong with a policeman living in a low-income housing area, by the way? And if one of the young ladies who grew up met and married this policeman, or they're living together, if that's her partner, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? So talking about policemen living there, what's your problem? We're talking 15 years now. So much could have happened. You have to be proud of the ones who have grown, who's able to expand on their house, who's able to renovate their homes. But what happened to the ones, and there are plenty of those, who cannot afford to renovate their house, that's falling apart on them? What happened to those? You say everybody should pay for their land. You see, this is not just about I'm NDC, so I support any nonsense NDC come out with. You don't have to support it. Wrong is wrong. When it is wrong, it is wrong. Right? They spoke of, some people say they can open and close their louvers. If it closed, they'll leave it closed. Because if they open it, they all fall off. There are those without louvers. The metal work, rusting. One resident told me, every now and again, our kids come with a cut from the metal. What are you talking about? How ignorant the facts can you be? What are you looking for? Fame? From who? Well, you have Tyler Perry there, so maybe you might get famous one day, right? Just imagine. And she sounds like she living there, because she made under the poster when them say living here. Yeah, yeah. How sad. How sad. It's moving up only for the prime minister and his friends and certain members of their family. Are you a member of the chosen few, Sharon? Are you amongst the chosen few? You need to shut up and sit down. You need to shut up and sit down. The prime minister is using state funds, our funds, to pay a monthly rent of $20,500. State funds, monthly. With the prime minister's residence sitting up there in Mount Royal, empty, uninhabited. $20,500. But the ordinary man in La Colombe, because he's trying or she's trying to improve their life, make themselves more comfortable, which should be commended. They must pay for land because they know could buy a car, they know could fix their house, and they know seeing a policeman. They must pay for the land. That's bad-mindedness. I have news though. After the airing of my last episode on La Colombe, I was contacted by a local attorney of law who has offered his services pro bono for the residents of La Colombe. I just want to say here that this La Colombe situation is deception at the highest level. Trickery. The residents were being tricked, called down to the stadium. They were bullied. They were bullied by the Housing Authority of Grenada. They are being bullied to pay for lands that they signed for under the original document as a property and paid up for. I rest my case with La Colombe for now, because there is something up there that I need to go back and do my research and come back to you on. So I rest my case with La Colombe for now. Continue the lies and the trickery, tomfoolery from last week. In August, in fact, the 23rd of August 2023, Minister for MIT Andy Williams visited India and made this post. We have, if you look on your screen, of course, you see the photo ops, and he posted, and I read, it seeks, he's saying here, MIT seeks opportunities for investment partnership and funding for national development priorities. Honorable Andy Williams recently visited India to participate in the 9th CII Indian LAC conclave on furthering economic partnership for shared and sustained growth. Through his participation, Minister Williams has commenced discussion on behalf of Grenada for US dollars 1 million in grant funding for factory equipment to enable the transformation of locally available raw resources into value-added products for domestic consumption and export. According to Minister Williams, a delegation from India will be visiting Grenada in September, and that is September of 2023, to identify areas for partnership and development support. The release then spoke of the minister and his PS visiting Vancouver, Canada, on some other mission there. It ends by saying, the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation remains committed to seeking out avenues for the transformative development of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. On that trip, according to the Minister Andy Williams, he was offered 1 million US dollars in grant funding for factory equipment to enable the transformation of locally available new resources into value-added products for domestic consumption and export. Now, if you look on your screen, you'll see a flyer where the minister has put up, started to put up a copra oil extraction plant for processing, 20 tons per day. He already knew how much tons of oil or copra, I'm not sure which one, he was going to process, right? 20 tons a day. And this little flyer here reads, coming soon, a plant aided at adding value to coconuts. A plant aided at adding value to coconuts. Coconut copra is used for producing butter, oil, baking and cooking cosmetic products, including soaps, body scrubs, hair masks, shampoos, tropical creams, etc. Imagine us having the opportunity to produce these things. How wonderful that will be. Yes, just imagine that. Now, as you look on your screen, you saw the flyers there. It shows, as I said, and explains the type of industry that Minister Andy was getting into using the funds granted to us by the government of India, right? Monies we've never seen or heard of after a release. Now, it's either the monies were given to Minister Andy and it was kept by him, or it was used by the government for another purpose, because we know the minister told us that monies can be used for anything. It just all goes into the consolidated fund and they use it for whatever they want, right? This is the type of people we're dealing with here, right? Or the whole thing was tomfoolery. It was trickery at the highest level. Bottom line, it was a lie. So we have options there. We're accustomed to the lies and the trickery and the tomfoolery, or it was all of the above. But we know if we have to follow the money, it takes us to the Ministry of MIT. But it didn't end there. It got even better. Then at a town hall meeting in New York, hosted by the NDC party, Andy Williams, speaking to the audience on value added and his accomplishment in negotiating with the Indian government. First, 1 million US dollars. And he was proud to announce that he got a call from the Indian government promising him another million USD over the phone. Over the phone, folks. Listen to this.
So one of our plan is to bring back agro-processing in Grenada. And I am not just saying it. Anyone could say anything, but you need to back it up. So when I went to India 2 months ago, I met with the Indian government, and they pledged to give Grenada $1 million US in equipment, any equipment we want, to start our factories. Now, we have better news. When I go back to Grenada, the delegation will be visiting Grenada, and they said, Andy, that 1 million is now 2 million. So we have a chance to really push agro-processing in Grenada. And our dream is not to have it in St. George's, because everything is centered in St. George's. But we have to start promoting the urban to rural migration. And if we can have factories in the north and in the middle of the island, what it means is that infrastructure can be improved, housing can be improved, and everyone does not have to run to St. George's for a job. But we can have the rural areas being developed, and this is what we want. Now again, we have a case right now in Grenada where the ABC Islands are looking for products to import. And they have engaged Grenada, they have engaged the Ministry of Agriculture, and we are now working with them. So now we have a chance to export our product. But why do we need factories? Because we can add value to the product and get more from it. Also, when you travel to the diaspora, you have London, you have Canada, you have New York. Do you know in the diaspora, you have twice as much Grenadians living in the diaspora than in Grenada? So why are we not exporting our products to the diaspora? Let you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Pidimatiq, consume it. This is what we have to do. This is what you call transformation. And I will tell you, give us 2 years. Just give us 2 years. And you will see a difference in Grenada. And it's not just talk. It's not just poor and vulnerable. But it's about moving Grenada from one stage to the other. And this is what we want to do. Thank you.
You guys heard that? I know where to start. If it's Andy, you now have 2 million US dollars, or if it's we already in business with the ABC Islands. But let's take it one step at a time. So where is the $2 million US that Minister Andy got for the coconut industry? Where's that $2 million? Where are the Indians that was supposed to visit Grenada in September of 2023? Where are those Indians that was coming to Grenada in September of 2023? Are you hearing me? We're in 2025. He went on to say how crafty he is in accepting monies and help for Grenada. We were engaging the ABC Islands, meaning Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, islands of the Leeward Antilles in the Caribbean Sea. Now, they reached out to them and they are engaging them in what way? What have we to offer the ABC Islands? That sound good, eh? The ABC Islands reached out to us, and because we don't hear about the ABC Islands around these parts, he could say anything and we could just sit down there and say, wow. You know, I feel sorry for the person that was sitting in that audience. I felt really, really sorry for them, and still do up till now. As supporters of the NDC, I really do feel sorry for you guys. Right? So, what are you engaging the ABC Islands with? What have we to offer these islands? Since NDC came into office, we're importing even more stuff. To me, everything under the sun. You can go in the supermarkets and find anything you pick up, from ginger to lemons, everything are imported. So what are we offering the ABC Islands? The potato and the dasheen and the yam that the Prime Minister spoke of, that he allocated millions towards since 2023 budget. And that would have been announced in 2022. We're yet to see anything with that. So we were importing dasheen yams and so from St. Vincent, banana, everything. What are we offering the ABC Islands? Then he spoke of urban to rural migration. That sounds good. You hear that somewhere. Who's migrating? Is a factory migrating? You building factory in the rural areas because everything happening in town. Okay, that's fine. Wonderful gesture. But what you're talking about, urban to rural migration, what's that? Who's migrating? What is migrating? The factories. Okay, that's cool. What is worse is the persons, as I said, at the town hall. How gullible, clapping resoundingly. What are you saying now? 3 years, going into 3 years later. Oh, he said give them 2 years and we would marvel at the transformation. Time passed, brother. Time passed. But let's hear him, how he's able to access funds.
Hi, good afternoon. I just have a quick question. You talked about involvement from foreign countries such as India and China, and you spoke about a lot of numbers in terms of funds that they're giving us. Only one, if I'm not mistaken, is in terms of grants. So I want to know, what's the catch? What are we giving these countries in return for all of this capital that they're giving us? Because we don't want Nigeria, we don't want things where we're selling off our island in order to build it up. I think that holding the integrity of what Grenada is and who Grenada is really important to me as a child of Grenadians and someone who values her Grenadian heritage. So what's the catch? Like, what are we giving these foreign nations in exchange for all of this money that they're giving us?
Now, oh, Lord, you can go down one, Junior? Oh, okay. So, I can tell you about India. St. Vincent already got the grant from India. Suriname already got the grant from India. Now, when I travel, when I leave here, I'm going to South Korea. In about 10 minutes, I'll have to leave to go. Now, when I travel, I don't travel empty-handed. I travel with some concepts and some concepts of what we will need in Grenada. So when the meetings are finished, I will sit down with the Minister of Trade and say, hey, we will need XYZ in Grenada. What can you give, if possible? And there are grant funding outside. The UK give us grant to fix our infrastructure and to fix the road system. Grant we don't have to pay back. China gave us a grant for housing that we don't have to pay back. As far as I know, there is no catch. The grants are available or were available in India just to access. And no one in Grenada was doing it. But I saw it and I accessed it. Right? So to say that what we have to give back, as far as I know, there's nothing we have to give back. And also, you have a lot of grants outside, especially in the area of climate change. Because what happens is that the developed world, they do all the pollutants to cause the climate change. But we are the one in the Caribbean and so that face the lasting or get the lasting effects of it. And there's a lot of grants in climate change. But you have to focus, you have to know where they are, and you have to get them to improve your country. If you go to take a loan for everything, you will be in debt till you can't pay. And I think that was happening to some of the African countries. They took loans over what they could pay. And that's a strategy that was done in order to keep them at a certain level.
You cut it for once he finished talk about how he access the money and that kind of thing. Okay. Come for it. He travels with some concepts of what Grenada needs. Tata, miss. Real Tata. Right? And he would go after the meeting to the Minister of Trade and say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z in Grenada. Think they're talking to Sima? Nonsense. Utter nonsense. And this thing ain't get better, From then to now, it's worse. This thing has not gotten better. No wonder why we ain't getting nothing. Nothing. Just by way of announcement, the grants from the UK and the grants from China that he spoke about for the housing was under the previous administration. They knew how to get grants. They knew how to negotiate. Partners said the grants were available in India. He saw it and he accessed it. So where is it, Andy? Where are the grants you accessed, you saw and accessed? What happened to this $2 million US? And where are the Indians that were supposed to visit Grenada in September of 2023? Where are the coconut trees that left Brazil and Mexico since 2023? 5,000 of them And let me read here to you a post that came from Andy Williams when he was talking all of this on Facebook. Of course, I went in and say, well, coconut, as far as I knew then, took 15 years when you plant to grow and bear and all that sort of thing. And I was told, but let me read his post to me. He said, Jennifer Simon, we have already ordered 5,000 plants from Mexico and Brazil, which takes 4 years to bear fruit, with the Ministry of Implementation involved. We will surely increase the number. It's a great time to be a farmer. So 4 years, we almost 3 years since these coconuts left Brazil and Mexico. These coconuts will bear on the way. Before they get to Grenada, it would bear on the way, because I have called the Ministry of Agriculture several times trying to find these coconut trees, something they know nothing about, right? And if they're going to bear in 4 years, they probably settle down in another country somewhere because it's almost time to bear. We are awaiting these 5,000. And in a further post, he said soon they would order another 10,000. So right now, there's supposed to be 15,000 coconut trees out there on their way to Grenada since 2023. And I'm talking about second quarter 2023, right? Maybe they're walking, and I think even if they're walking, they would have been here already. I mean, what have we done to deserve this? I cannot understand it for the likes of me. And I keep saying and asking, what have we done, my people? Have you ever heard any more nonsense coming from the mouth of a minister? And in fact, our designated acting prime minister. Have you ever? I ain't done yet, you know. Let's hear the goodly minister on some matters pertaining to Grenada and our development. Here's what he had to say on Project 500. Remember, this is the second quarter of 2023.
And also, I spoke about the Chinese housing at the beginning, but we want to do some Grenadian style housing in the future. And when I say in the future, I mean starting next year. So we have a project called Project 500. And that project is being led by the Honorable Minister of Social Development, Philip Telesford. We have already identified lands in Beauchejou and other places. And the next step is to get developers to come, get local contractors to come, get the banks involved. And we're going to do a project called Project 500, where we are going to build 500 Grenadian-style housing. And when we do that, we are not going to stop there. We are not going to stop there. We are going to continue, and next 500, and next 500, and next 500, until we solve the housing situation in Grenada.
Wow. Another 500. And I wonder if Minister, what's his name? David Andrew, if he's heard that before. I hope he's looking and hear this. And Grenada, we are still waiting on these Grenadian-style homes to be built. Because right now, left, right, and center is prefab in Wisconsin. Everywhere. They build back better. The 500, although it reached Project 17, prefab. We are still waiting. All the fanfare, all the fancy designs we were shown. If you see these things of these houses, these Grenadian-style houses, folks, this is serious business. This is not child's play. This is not coucou. This is serious. You playing with an entire nation. He also spoke of the derelict project.
Also, Grenada is a beautiful place. Beautiful. Sometimes we travel to the Bahamas and so on, we see all Miami and we see all the beautiful palm trees and so everything nice. And when you come back to Grenada, we have beauty and we are not making use of it. So my ministry have a project called the Visible Transformation Project. And that project is where we look to beautify Grenada. When you go to Grenada, you will see all old vehicles by the side of the road. Sometimes a fire truck want to come out of fire, no space to pass because vehicles are just blocking up the space. We have started collecting the derelict vehicles already. We have started collecting derelict boats. We are in a process right now of cleaning up the water because sometimes you have yachties come into Grenada and settle outside and dump all the waste in the water, destroying our coral reef. We have already started to beautify the Wall Street area. We have already started to beautify the Lagoon Road. And as I speak right now, we have a crew in St. George's that are beautifying the St. George's area.
This is the worst. Since my traveling through the tongue of St. George, the tongue of St. George, that's when I started secondary school in St. Joseph Convent. I wouldn't tell you what year because you're going to know my age, right? This is the worst I've seen the tongue of St. George. But they already had a crew there beautifying the tongue of St. George. Which part? The Lagoon Road, the Camper Nicholson people clean up, and ever so often they have to struggle to keep it clean. Wall Street, that they had the guts and the belly, all they did was plant flowers, and more recently paint in black and white. Nothing else was done on Wall Street. What are you talking about? What are you speaking about? And let's talk about the project derelict, the derelict project. Let's talk about that. Because what you are doing and continue to do, you're doing it all now. Building 2 houses here, building 2 houses there, and so you're doing a housing project. You picked up a few vehicles, crunch them, send them to Trinidad. We still want to know where the monies for that went. And I understand that's the reason why the project, one of the reasons why the project stopped as well. Where are the monies for the derelict, the vehicles, right? And then you stop. The roadways are filled all over Grenada with derelict vehicles. Still, this mama guy ain't working. We have schools in Grenada that needs furniture. St. David's Secondary School right there, West Hall Secondary, I should say, right there in the Prime Minister's constituency. Kids are sitting hooking up on chairs, sitting in corners and so in the classroom. They need furniture. A whole truck was sent with 2 desks and 4 chairs. I understand that the parents, the teachers and kids were so happy when they saw the truck coming, thinking that would get two desks and 4 chairs. You're not bothering about that. You're gone now and say you bulldozing health centers and you fixing that, and you're just moving on to tick boxes. Halfway. Not even halfway. Who you think you mama guy? So stop talking about the derelict vehicles. Well, that was a long time ago anyway, since 2023, right? And then there was a question of the town of Grenville.
Good afternoon, beautiful people of Grenada, Carriacou and Pays de Martinique. I do not have a question, I have a concern. Everything sounds nice. I want to know about Grenville. Grenville is like a shanty town. My concern is what has been done for Grenville in terms of beautification. That's it. Thank you.
So, 1, 2. So for Grenville, the same things apply with the derelict vehicles. The cleanup, we have done a cleanup in Grenville already, and we are still continuing to deal with the derelict vehicles in Grenville. The 4 MPs for Grenville, or the 4 caretakers for Grenville, well, St. Andrews, sorry, right. They have a plan. Part of the plan will be to take back some of the lands and to backfill and to put some areas for recreation in Grenville. But we also have a bigger problem in Grenville, and we have done a study because every time rain falls, Grenville flood. It was said the problem was fixed, but it only became worse, right? So part of the problem will be, part of the solution will be to install pumps certain places so that the water can be pumped out and not just stay and flood the area.
A study was done, he said. When was this study done? So why you ain't use some of them pumps to pump Montrouge when a copper rain fall? Copper rain filling up the drain, because the drains, especially the one alongside KFC, that side, the field and there, are filled with silt and bushes, grass growing tall up. It's at the level of the roadside, of the sidewalk. So any amount of rain, a drizzle, Montrouge floods. You have a study with pumps. Try pumping out, putting the pumps there to pump out the water. What you need to do, Minister, in your Great South, is to clean the drains. Clean the drains. We're heading into the rainy season, and keep them clean. Ask Sister Glenys Roberts what she did when NDC was in office before and managed to keep the drains clean and they were not flooded when it rained. Ask her, because we're in for a really rough time. And while I'm on it, the drains outside by the SOG supermarket, same thing. You can't even see drains. You don't even know if drains were there. It's one thing from the street right up to the bank. High bushes. In fact, high bushes everywhere. We really do need to clean up the place a little. Clean up the place a little. They encourage rodents and mosquitoes. And so clean up the bushes. So a study was done, and they were going to put pumps to pump out the water from Grenville. We look forward to the next rainfall to see what happens in Grenville, because I don't know if the bush, as far as I know, Grenville been flooding badly still. And so, like, the pumps not working. The pumps and the nets, and for the sargassum, all of them things, they ain't working. And as my girlfriend said, the Yamaha boats, or the Yahama. Which is it, my girl? And now for his wrap-up. Let's hear what he had to say.
Now, some will give you the idea and play politics. Like in Grenada, is doom and gloom. And you can't blame them, that's probably their duty. And when I say their duty, they are getting paid. You have the opposition party who are paying people to paint a negative stain on Grenada. And that is sad. When you hear a former prime minister coming and doubting the RGP of the Royal Grenada Police Force, who in the region is rated top, this is sad, and it shows you desperation. But I tell you people, rest assured that Grenada is in good hands. Our prime minister is one of the smartest individuals I've ever met. He's cool, calm, and collective. He has a plan, he has a vision. And our job in cabinet is to support him so that we can reach the level that Grenada needs to reach. So I just want to say, hold on tight. We need your support in the diaspora, and we need every Grenadian support. I tell people every day, the time for playing politics is over. Grenada belongs to all of us, and we have to join in to help build our country.
What is sad, Minister, is the load of lies you told at that town hall. Is the load of lies you and your colleagues continue to tell the Grenadian public. The deception, the trickery, the tomfoolery. That meeting in New York was since 2023. Not one thing you said there came to fruition. Not one. Not one thing was truthful, even. What is sad is the lies you guys continue to tell, including your beloved Prime Minister. You continue to lie to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, and the diaspora. But you know what's interesting? The people in the diaspora have caught on to you guys. They've caught on to you guys. You see, in the UK, you're supposed to be going to a town hall there. You, same you, going to host a town hall there. You'll have what? Two actors, UK actors of Grenadian parentage. You're all bringing two actors as guest speakers, trying to corral the UK people to come to that town hall, because you all know you don't have that support anymore. The people continue to ask in the UK for the raffle money or the raffle presents. What happened to the monies? Nothing to know. The raffling call. And they want to know what happened to the monies from the gala that ended up in the chairman's account, his personal account. Well, the former chairman, he ducked out. Right? So y'all can't fool them anymore. They're onto y'all. And so in New York and elsewhere, they're onto y'all. They're onto y'all. Being lied to is disrespectful, and it shows that you believe that we are dumb. And when I say you, I mean the administration, the cabinet. You all think it's okay. A total disregard for our intelligence. By the way, you claim to be a politician. Please explain. The time for politics is over. You're a politician. What are you talking about? Kukute. In fact, never mind. Never mind. I don't know that you know whether you're a politician or not. And the whole thing, it's just a hot mess. And it's actually very troubling. The state Grenada is in at this moment. Very troubling. Moving along. Some of you might have heard of FROC, FROC, the Financial Resilience Oversight Committee. FROC is a committee formed by the former NNP administration to oversee the economy of the country and to report to the people directly on its performances. A press conference was held recently to present the annual report, represented by the chairman, or presented rather, by the chairperson of that committee, Ms. Laurel Bain. In that press conference, Ms. Bain outlined the reasons why Grenada realized a surplus in 2024. After the mid-year review that I've read to you several times on this program of 2024 report, which showed Grenada was operating in a deficit of, was it $144 million? Yes, 144 million EC dollars, even with the abundance of monies collected through the CBI. Now, we've been saved. We've been saved by Hurricane Beryl. And you know, I no matter if I did before, I'm going to read to you again what the report said. Their report coming from the Ministry of Finance, and it says here, the fiscal outcome of 2024 shows a notable overall deficit of EC $144 million compared to a budget surplus of EC $0.5 million, resulting in a large negative percentage variance. The primary balance, including grants, is estimated to be a deficit of EC $88.2 million, in stark contrast to the budgeted surplus of EC $57.1 million, reflecting a percentage variance of, in the red, minus 254.5%. And I said again, even after the abundance of monies from the CBI program. Now, I've been telling you guys that the government of Grenada was saved by Beryl. You know what it is, saved by the bell? Well, Grenada was saved by Beryl. And it gave them financing and, of course, sympathy and pity. In March, at the presentation of the budget on page 11 of the Government of Grenada Estimates of Revenue and Expenditure 2025 under Economic and Fiscal Performance 2024 highlights, we were told that the CBI program and the CRIF insurance payout bolstered government fiscal position. And I quote, gotta get it from my stash here, glasses. Unprecedented citizenship by investment inflows and the CRIF insurance payout bolstered government's fiscal position in 2024. Let me say that again. Bolstered government's fiscal position in 2024. An overall balance surplus of $310.4 million, 81% of GDP, was recorded as of December 2024, with a primary balance surplus after grants of $432.9 million, 11.3% of GDP. These provisional balances were greater than budgeted, of course, because there were no CRIF then, and surpassed the fiscal performance on record for 2023. Folks, in this in the budget on page 11, the Economic and Fiscal Performance 2024, the CRIF insurance paid out was used as revenue to allow for the government a surplus instead of the deficit we were running under, right? The CRIF monies being used then only solidifies the fact that the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique is unable to get back to normalcy because they're still living on the tents, tarpaulins, on the steps. The people that lost their homes and cannot afford to rebuild on their own, to put back roofs, in some instances, are suffering. Hell, they don't even have water to drink at times. But that's not all. Because that's what the chairperson of FROC, Ms. Bain, that is what she presented. Whilst people are still homeless in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, coming up to a year, almost a year, at the FROC conference, Ms. Laurel Bain, the chairperson of FROC, told the nation clearly that the CBI and the CRIF payout are responsible for turning the deficit into a surplus. Listen carefully.
On the external account, we saw a widening of the merchandise trade deficit by 18%. That is your trade in goods. And this was due primarily to the growth in imports of approximately 10%. However, that widening trade deficit was somewhat partially offset by a growth in services due to developments relating to tourism. As a result, the current account balance, your external account, which includes your trade in goods and your trade in service, is estimated to have widened by 16%. That deficit on the current account was financed by substantial capital and financial inflows in 2024. The capital and financial inflows were related to inflows received through the Investment Migration Agency, and the inflow, the proceeds from the Risk Insurance Fund. On the financial account also, there was significant capital inflows relating to foreign direct investment, estimated at $748 million. However, in 2024, these inflows were dampened significantly by capital outflows associated with investments by financial institutions. On the fiscal account, the public finances strengthened substantially in 2024. There was a primary balance of 11.3% or $433 million. And there was an overall surplus, which is a primary surplus of 11.3% and an overall surplus of 8%. The overall surplus was estimated at $310.5 million. These surpluses in 2024 was influenced by the significant inflows mentioned that was recorded on the external account, the inflows through the Investment Migration Agency and the Risk Insurance Fund. The inflows from the Investment Migration Agencies was estimated as approximately $554 million, and the Insurance Fund was $118 million. So there was a surplus in 2024. The fiscal balances are estimated to be in deficit for 2025. There will be a primary deficit projected at 5.1% of GDP or $208 million. The overall deficit is estimated to be 8% of GDP or $337 million. The deficit was due primarily to lower estimated proceeds from the Investment Migration Agency and the non-existence of the Insurance Fund in 2025, despite the growth in expenditure in that year.
The current balance widened by 16%. What we import or what we export, according to Ms. Bain, we all know we import everything. And therefore, we a net importer. Now, if it wasn't for the CBI and the CRIF monies, that 16% would have been worth, right? We can return to the budget, which also clearly stated that the CBI program and the CRIF insurance payout saved the government. Likewise, Ms. Bain, chairperson of the FROC, in that clip you just heard here, in that 4-minute clip, over and over repeated that the CBI and the CRIF payout saved that administration, that NDC administration led by Deacon Mitchell in 2024. But we've gone back to the deficit in 2025, right? Right? The lawyer must know that you can't hide from economics. You can run, but you cannot hide. It's something my dad always said. May his soul rest in peace. He always said, you can run, but you cannot hide. As a man, you can put on the most gorgeous evening wear. Put on your wig, put on lipstick even. But you're still a man. Under that gorgeous evening wear is your penis hanging. Right? So, another deficit projected for 2025. And we saw that in the budget, right? And when critics and the opposition spoke of the deficit, they said it wasn't a deficit. But now the frog said it. We back to deficit in 2025. But the CBI and the CRIF money brought us to an 8% surplus, right? The CRIF monies, again, and I have to say it again, saved us, saved that administration financially. That monies were supposed to go to relieve the Hurricane Beryl victims. And today, the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique don't even have water to drink. 554 million from the CBI program and 118 million from the CBI, from the CRIF, insurance payout. A 672 million that wiped out the deficit. Economic growth in 2024 is recorded at 3.7% after Hurricane Beryl. An obvious reason for the increase, construction. However, what Ms. Bain did not tell us is that economic growth has been trending downwards over the past few years, even the boast of growth of 3.7%. In 2022, economic growth was 7.3%. In 2023, economic growth was 4.5%. In 2024, as we've heard from Ms. Bain, 3.7%. And this is after Beryl with construction booming, and they are projecting a 4.1% for 2025, still falling under the 2023 percentage. And of course, there is no definite telling what will happen in 2025. It could be growth and it could be trending downwards as well. Now, the boast of visitors' arrivals. At the beginning of COVID 2019, visitors' arrival was 526,000. 2022, 335,000. And that is recovering after COVID, right? Now, 524,000 visitors arrival still is below the 2019 figure. In other words, we are not doing as well as we are made to believe. We are just getting by the pre-COVID numbers. Now, as Ms. Bain said, and as we already know from the estimate of revenues and expenditure 2025, there's a deficit. According to Ms. Bain, it's 11.25. So let's put the talk about deficit budget or not. Let's put that to rest. It was a deficit budget.
Now, Mr. Speaker, let us scrutinize. You see, it's not just about what the minister said, because you see, there's something that's more important than what he just said. It is what is in the budget document, Mr. Speaker. And it's not even just what's in the budget document, Mr. Speaker, it's the behavior of the administration, the posture of the administration. Put that together with the figures and what was presented, and you get the true picture. Don't just listen to what he said. So let us scrutinize the estimate of revenue and expenditure to assess the harsh economic reality we currently face as a nation. Mr. Speaker, the government projects total revenue of approximately $1.265 billion against a staggering total expenditure of $1.602 billion, resulting, Mr. Speaker, in a deficit of $337 million. Mr. Speaker, where are we heading with this deficit, Mr. Speaker? We have moved from previous surpluses to a daunting deficit of $337 million. And it really doesn't matter, Mr. Speaker, how the PR representatives of this government explains a deficit. A deficit is what it is, a deficit.
Case closed. A deficit is a deficit. So we know they took the CRIF money meant for the people, the victims of Hurricane Beryl, people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and let's not forget some of the persons in the north of the island, St. Mark, St. Patrick, even a little spillover in St. Andrew. So we know what happened to the CRIF money. They took it to offset their deficit. But there are other monies we need to find out about. The $100 million US we borrowed from Saudi Arabia. What happened to the monies from the USAID? Did we get the monies? In a question to the Minister of Finance in a press conference, he couldn't answer whether we got the monies or not. Let's hear him.
Minister, did we have time to get the $1 million that was promised to us through USAID following the passage of Beryl? Did Grenada get that money?
I wouldn't want to say yes at this moment because, again, I know we got funding from them in the early stages and so on. I'm not sure it's up to the $1 million, but I think we would have gotten some funding from them. I can't confirm it's $1 million or not. I would have to get my accountant general to confirm the figures that we got.
So if we did get those monies, can't confirm whether it's $1 million or not. So if we did get the monies, where are those monies? What happened to the monies from the USAID? And in the same vein, what happened to the $200,000 of GoFundMe monies that a citizen gave to the Minister of Finance, handed over to the Minister of Finance? If you look on your screen, you'll see the money being handed over with the Prime Minister at that said head table by Mr. Adam de Call for the people of Petit Martinique towards the health center and their school today, to date, should I say, the health center in Petit Martinique is in the same condition it was after Beryl. Here is Mr. Adam DeCall.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, distinguished guests, and all present today. I'm Adam DeCall, manager of Coles Food Stores, and I'm here to donate the funds for the rebuilding efforts of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. The story behind this fund is one of transformation of helplessness into hope. It originated from my own feelings of helplessness when Hurricane Beryl approached the island. I happened to be away on holiday. I know many other persons who weren't on the island would have felt the same helplessness, unable to physically help prior, during, and after the hurricane. In a moment of feeling helpless while I was away after the hurricane, a thought came to me to collect funds, build a fund, do what you can. I followed this thought and started a GoFundMe page trying to raise $35,000, which at the time I thought was ludicrous. How would we ever earn that much funds? But however, due to the generosity of people donating and sharing, we have now raised $200,000 plus, reflected in the check, which I'll hand over shortly. This fund was always intended for rebuilding efforts. After visiting our sister islands, I pledged these funds for the rebuilding of the health clinic and the school in Petit Martinique. There can be nothing more important than the health and education of the people, and rebuilding these facilities will have a significant impact on the island. I am fully committed to ensuring these structures are rebuilt better and stronger, so they may even serve as shelters in future hurricanes. The clinic, as residents have shared, has lost its roof a few times, and I want to ensure that this time is the last time. I want to say the Minister of Health, Mr. Telesford, contacted me this morning saying the same exact things to me, and that his goal is to see that the building is built back stronger, better, and greener.
Where is that $200,000 for Petit Martinique? Where is that $200,000? Mr. Adam DeCall handed over to the finance minister and the government of Grenada. Where is it? So we need some help. We need some help. We need some accountability. We need some transparency when it comes to the people's purse. On Tuesday, the 13th May 2025, the internet broke with NDC surrogates and activists posting and sharing flyers which read, "The National Democratic Congress, NDC, says it will make a major announcement tomorrow." Look on your screen for those of you who haven't seen it. There you go. Another one coming from the NDC read, "Major announcement tomorrow. Stay tuned. Hashtag transformation agenda." Now, all coming from NDC supporters, NDC surrogates in social media. Rumors and speculations came from all corners. What I knew was that the NDC was looking for attention, and I also knew that they have been looking for a feel-good moment to set themselves up to call the next general elections. Because the longer they stay is the worse it gets. You ever hear the story of the monkey? And the higher the monkey climb, the more its bottom get exposed. Yeah. First it was inviting Dangote to be the keynote speaker at our 51st independence anniversary celebration. There was fireside chat and you name it. On the 7th of February 2025, Mr. Dangote spoke, keynote speaker. That fell flat. It didn't get the hype that they were looking for. What did Dangote bring to the table? 1,000 cricket bats that was given out in the parish of St. David's only. Right? That's it. Came and left. Then there was after that the after convention rally where two regional prime ministers were keynote speakers, were speakers. Mr. Prime Minister Philip J. Pear of St. Lucia, who is on his way out, by the way, and the Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit of Dominica, a full-grown dictator by now, a rogue prime minister with an electoral system that undermines the democratic process of Dominica. He returned home from Grenada to protest in the streets, burning of cars and tires, and you know what, protesters being beaten and taken away. That too did not pan out so well with Skerrit and Philip J. Pear. Their business more dirty than ours. And they come in here to threaten about leave St. John's Northwest to him. That's Skerrit. BS. Then they corralled the people, their people, because it was an NDC town hall, to the Trade Center on March the 26th. We talk about oil and gas. That too did not work. You see, the NDC said that there were no oil and gas, and that the announcement made by the former Prime Minister in Pearls in 2018, the last rally before the election, that was an election gimmick. Now they realize that there's something out there somewhere, some kind of oil and gas. They don't know how to say it. So they're making a wrong and they're beating a wrong and they're saying it halfway and then they're still coming back and say they don't know and they're not going to make an announcement like in 2018 and they're still missing documents and all kind of rigmarole because they're ashamed. And they just don't want to come out and say, yes, there's some semblance of oil and gas in our waters. So they're making monkey trick. And that too fell flat. And then there was the DM, the PM. And everybody dropped what they're doing and, you know, got to the TV and the whatever, the internet and crickets. The day after, everybody went back to normal. Nobody said, but did you see the DM, the PM? Crickets. Crickets. No, I'll save that. I'll save that. And sometime later, I will tell you all what I was about to say when it materialized. And now, yesterday, May 13, 2025, it's the announcement of the signing of an affiliation agreement with the Mount Sinai Hospital of Manhattan, New York. And that was the big announcement, the major announcement. That too fell flat. Now, my issue with that whole scenario and how it unfolded is again the NDC and the disappearing of the line between party and government. The NDC says it will make a major announcement. The NDC said they would make a major announcement. So who's paying the $2.5 million, US dollars, might I add, 2.5 million USD annually to Mount Sinai that this administration signed an agreement for 15 years. Who's paying that 2.5 million? Which is, they said, for 5 years, the first 5 years, they said it's for the first 5 years. We know after the first 5 years what happens, it would increase. That's to start. Is it the NDC party paying this 2.5 million? Or is it we, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique? Therefore, this is not the NDC announcement to make. The NDC party, that is surrogates and goons and on Facebook doing cartwheels. An agreement that I thought was signed already, because we've been hearing of this Mount Sinai, and it was announced that from the 1st of January, we would be statutorized. The health system will be statutorized. So I thought the thing was signed already, right? I understand. And I can see, we all can see, that there are a confused bunch from captain to crook. But we are not at all, we the people, are not at all confused. So don't try to bamboozle us. Don't try it. You see, at the Prime Minister's celebration rally at La Sagesse, the evening of the 2022 general election, he had this to say.
I pledge to you that we will put the unification of our people at the center of everything we do. When we govern for all of the people of Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada. The competition is over. You are the judges of the competition. You have spoken resoundingly. And now it is our job to govern for all of Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada.
Less than 3 years later, at his after convention rally in Bouchijou, this is what he had to say.
We need to know one another. They have senior members and junior members and those who just joined. We need to know that all of us belongs to the National Democratic Congress. So we can't just argue and fight for what I will get, when you don't know your people. So sometimes the reason the other side getting is because we're not saying who are the real NDC people who need to get, because we don't know one another enough. So if we are telling the MP or the caretaker, these are our people, and let's go see them or bring the people, then we will know each other better.
So it's no more, the competition is over, we want people, we want the government is for all the people, no more that. It's now NDC time, and if you're not an NDC supporter, you're going to starve. So he's asking his people to identify who the NDC supporters are, so that the next side don't get. They're only getting because they don't know that they're not NDC. Yeah? You see, you could only pretend for so long. A person can only pretend for so long. There he was, preaching segregation, preaching hate, encouraging a one-party state. As usual, I'll share with you snippets of the NDC's major announcement. What was the announcement? The signing of a 15-year agreement at a Project Polaris press conference. That was a major announcement, you know. So much so, with all the fanfare, 3 journalists or media personnel showed up. All 3 was online. Not one showed up in person at the press conference with all the fanfare, because people are getting accustomed to the distraction, right? So lest we forget, Project Polaris is the fancy name to the new hospital project. Don't get twisted, okay? An affiliation agreement, something like a franchise, in other words. That's what was signed. Something like KFC, or where you have to pay franchise fees. Costing the people of Grenada $2.5 million annually. And as I said earlier, for the first 5 years of the 15-year agreement. Let's start with the introduction by the press secretary, Ms. Nila Haithian.
This collaboration, we want to thank Dr. Sabi Dorotovich, CEO of Mount Sinai International. I want to welcome to the panel some other representatives from the Project Polaris team. We have also joining us the Honorable Delma Thomas, Minister for Mental Health. Again, I welcome Honorable Philip Telesford, Minister for Health, Ambassador Andrea St. Bernard, project sponsor for Project Polaris, and Mr. Damian Dolan is also joining us this morning for this morning's press conference. And Mr. Dolan is the Project Polaris lead strategic advisor and project consultant. I want to also welcome in the room, we have permanent secretaries and representatives from Mount Sinai International and, of course, from the Ministry of Health.
Visibly missing at the head table was our global health ambassador, visibly missing. And if I dare say, also Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, he's on ground, he's on land, his feet is on land. Maybe he's listening to Simon Says. You don't have to do everything. You can be Minister of Health and Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Housing and everything. So he kind of give Minister Telesford, the Minister of Health, a little slack, just a little, because almost immediately after he made his presentation and signed, he was turned into a flower pot. He was turned into a flower pot because Ms. Andrea St. Bernard answered all the questions. So Ms. Andrea St. Bernard was front and center one more time and introduced as project sponsor. Now, you could write it down if you have your notepad or it's project sponsor, Ms. Andrea St. Bernard. Ms. Andrea St. Bernard is the treasurer of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. She's special envoy / ambassador for investment and development and advisor to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Grenada on same, investment and development. She is the chairperson of the Grenadian Development Bank, was charged with to be in charge of the CES program, and is director on several other boards. I believe Grenlec is one, and I stand corrected here. It could be also the CBI might be one of those. She is a member of the first cabinet and a member of the Prime Minister's travel entourage. She is a CBI agent, one that she didn't hide in, like two of our cabinet members who are trying to hide. Well, one, because the other one can't really hide since he's a sole owner of his company. But the Prime Minister removed his name and pretend he doesn't own the company anymore, I guess. But now, after Ms. St. Bernard emerged as special envoy for investment and development, raising alarm bells over her close ties to the NDC and the Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. Special envoy, let me explain to you what a special envoy is. Special envoy holds high-ranking influential positions, and although they do not possess diplomatic immunity, they enjoy diplomatic passports and various other privileges. Ms. St. Bernard's appointment has ignited a firestorm of controversy, fueled by her role as the treasurer of the NDC and her cozy relationship with the Prime Minister and Mitchells and Co. Her past or ongoing connections with Henley and Partners in the CBI program only adds fuel to the fire. It is now alleged that the Prime Minister channels his CBI clients through Ms. St. Bernard's agent company, with St. Bernard's reporting directly to the Prime Minister, whose office has no jurisdiction over investment and development. Critics question the tangled web of responsibilities and potential conflicts of interest. The actual purview of investment and development lies with the Ministry of Economic Development, casting a shadow over St. Bernard's appointment. Today, it is revealed that Andrea St. Bernard is the project sponsor, whatever that means, of Project Polaris, nothing short of a superwoman. The project, a medical city, is or will be sitting on an 84 acreage of lands, according to the press conference in Hopevale, St. George. Sometimes it's in Calavini and sometimes it's in Hopevale. At the press conference, it's in Hopevale. Let's hear about the medical city.
At the heart of this 84-acre medical city, located or to be located at Hopevale, St. George, lies a state-of-the-art 250-bed smart research hospital. And I take this again for you to understand what we are doing here for the Grenadian people. We're speaking of a 250-bed smart research hospital. This facility will be equipped with the capacity, with the technology, and with the expertise to deliver high-quality secondary care and specialist services.
According to the Minister for Health, Philip Telesford, in a few short years, we will be walking into a new hospital. No timeline, just a few short years. It seems like some years are shorter than others when it comes to the NDC administration. That's it.
In a few short years, we will walk through the doors of this hospital with our families, with our elders, with our children. We will walk into a new era of healthcare in Grenada. One defined not by what we lacked in the past, but by what we dared to dream of for our future.
And then we heard from the project sponsor, Ms. Andrea St. Bernard. Listen carefully, pay attention.
I want to give an opportunity to break down a little bit of what is Project Polaris. I think this is our official launch, although the concept and the idea have been around for several months now. And so today marks quite a significant milestone in the Project Polaris timeline and overall development. And so I think it's an opportunity to give a little bit of an update on what has Project Polaris been doing that has brought us to this point. So to start, and as a backdrop, we've heard a lot from the ministers about the need for improvement in the healthcare system. We understand that Grenada's healthcare system is fragmented and lacking in holistic, equitable access to secondary and tertiary healthcare services for the most vulnerable and needy. In particular, the General Hospital is in a busy, congested, poorly accessible location that's not best suited for patients to easily access therapeutic care and recover in a tranquil, relaxed environment. So the cornerstone of Project Polaris is the creation of a new, smart, climate-resilient academic hospital in a less congested and peaceful environment. The vision for Project Polaris is to transform healthcare in the Caribbean for the benefit of all humanity. And our mission is to establish Grenada as the medical capital of the OECS and the medical destination of choice for the Americas. The Project Polaris team, the Project Polaris project, is built upon 5 pillars. Number 1, patient-centric healthcare. We want to ensure that we provide accessible healthcare to all Grenadians, that we provide specialist care, and that we provide an excellent experience for all patients, for all Grenadians. We are focused on community engagement as we marry the tertiary, primary, and secondary healthcare services. We have a significant focus on medical training and education as we work with our professionals to upskill, offer greater and better experiences, and ultimately create a cadre of exceptional, even better medical talent. And as we've heard from the team at Mount Sinai, they have validated for us that we already have significant assets in our human resources throughout the medical sector. And so we're really quite looking forward to focusing more on training and education to enhance in that area. Coupled with that is research and innovation. We are building a medical hub, which will also be a hub for research and innovation, which will have the ability to attract medical minds and aspirations from regionally and globally. And number 5 is tech adaptation and integration. We absolutely need to improve and increase our ability to leverage the technologies of the world. And so as we move towards the building of our new hospital, our new smart, climate resilient hospital, we will be leveraging all of the benefits of technology that the world has to offer. The expected outcomes and impact of Project Polaris in a very basic, general way is to upgrade the hospital infrastructure, provide a wider range of specialized medical and surgical services, and to also have infrastructure that's adaptable for future expansion, growth, and other opportunities. And so these are the focal points and the cornerstones upon which Project Polaris has been developing our plan for the implementation of the new hospital. The Project Polaris team has been working hard for quite some time. And in fact, our initial search for the right long-term strategic partner started late in 2023. We indeed went through quite a robust selection process to select the right partners. So we've spent 2024 and so far in 2025 focused on our plan and partnering with the right strategic partners. We, for example, have had Deloitte working with us on business plans, on our medical, tourism, and retirement plans. And for each of these processes, we are looking to partner with the best in the world as we aspire to build and offer the best of services. In each case, we go through a robust selection process, which results in the selection of key partners that we truly believe in. In the case of Mount Sinai, our official engagement or our discussions began in January of 2024. We did our own research to understand who are the best health system providers, operators in the world. We shortlisted and made sure that we understood the landscape. And we began discussing this opportunity with over 15 potential hospital groups. Based on our comprehensive evaluation of various potential partners, the government of Grenada agreed unanimously for the selection of Mount Sinai as the preferred strategic partner. And we are really quite proud that we've reached this point today to be signing this long-term 15 years collaboration and license agreement with the Mount Sinai team.
Now let's get this clear. We understand, and when I say we here, I believe I'm speaking for the majority of Grenadians. We understand and we believe that we do need a new hospital in Grenada. It's long coming, right? But right now, in this moment, we have a hospital. And what we need to do is save lives. So let's fix what we have. Let's furnish it with medicine, materials, equipment that's needed at the moment to save lives, reagents for the lab. Where are we getting that monies to pay Mount Sinai $2.5 million US annually for 5 years? How come we can't put medicines in our hospitals and in our health centers, in our clinics? How come we can't afford to put gauze and gloves, painkillers? Huh? How come we can't afford to run our theater full time? How come it's only for emergencies? And we can find $2.5 million annually to pay Mount Sinai. How can we afford that? How can we afford that? Something is not adding up. Now, in the question and answer segment, journalist Linda Straker, and thank you, Linda, for always showing up, asked a question, an explanation for the project sponsor title.
Can you explain to me what is a project sponsor?
I'm happy to take that question. So the Project Polaris is the concept of building the medical city. The government cabinet of ministers have created a delivery unit to lead in that project. And the delivery unit consists of myself, who is the project sponsor. And so I am the lead government representative responsible for the project. We have a consultant, which Mr. Damien Dolland is the lead of the consulting firm Darasami, which has been our lead strategic advisor with respect to this project. We have also are working with Deputy Permanent Secretary Ms. Siobhan Britton-Telesford as the Permanent Secretary on assignment to the Project Polaris Delivery Unit.
When we hear sponsor, normally it's this entity or this person is responsible for doing a whole lot of, they are literally the investor behind it. This person is sponsoring. However, in this case, I'm not getting that impression. So I was trying to understand the use of the term sponsor. I could understand you talk about the lead consultant, and so this is pretty clear, but it's the first time I'm hearing of someone being described as a sponsor of a project and is not the person doing the investment behind it. Okay,
So there is no investment component to the terminology being used in project sponsor. It really just means the lead person appointed by cabinet to have responsibility for delivery of the project. It's just the terminology that we've used.
That's her explanation, and it's that. Well, she can't just say lead because the other man is a lead, unless there are several leads. Mr. Dolan is a lead as well. Too much. In another question, Ms. Straker asked, what is the agreement signed? What is that agreement signed is going to cost the people of Grenada?
My other question is, this 15-year agreement, what is the cost of it to the government of Grenada financially, and what are the consequences for breaching this? If, for example, when you reach year number 5, you decide that we want to end our agreement, what are the consequences? And what is the cost to government presently?
All right, thank you for that question, Linda.
Thank you for the question again. So the collaboration and license agreement is really an agreement that allows the government of Grenada the opportunity to benefit from the experience and expertise and the full network of services that Mount Sinai has to offer. A main component of it is a license, so the right for the government of Grenada General Hospital to be known as in affiliation with Mount Sinai. What that means is Mount Sinai is committed to working with the government of Grenada to ensure that we raise our standards to international recognized levels. The consequence of losing that agreement is essentially we would lose the benefit of that collaboration and the benefit of being able to license the General Hospital as being in affiliation with Mount Sinai. So it's really an agreement that signifies collaboration where the two partners are working together to maintain the vision of improving the healthcare service to a standard that is recognized and should be recognized as being in affiliation with Mount Sinai. The cost of the fee for the services, it changes. There are various services that will be available that we will be using over the course of the 15 years. And of course, we have the opportunity to customize that as we understand what are the needs. Roughly, it's about $2.5 million per year for the next 5 years, working with Mount Sinai in the collaboration and license agreement.
2.5 million USD annually for the first 5 years. The cost changes. So I'm assuming after the first 5 years, price gone up. Linda came back to ask about drawings and feasibility study.
In terms of the design and so of the hospital, has that already been done? And the necessary feasibility study, has that already been done for the location?
Yes, thank you again. So we are quite, as I said, 2024 and 2025 are planning years, and we've been working diligently and actually at lightning speed to put together the plans for the new hospital. We are working towards a design. We are still in the process of finalizing, again, going through quite a robust process to identify and select the right design firms, build and contract firms. And so we're in that process now. Stay tuned. We will certainly have more information about the process as we go forward.
And then she had a question for the representative from Mount Sinai, which he passed on. You're catching them easily, making commitments, and so live on mic that can be recorded, huh? Trust me on that one. Here.
So the gentleman from Mount Sinai, our minister is stressing on the word research. Can he, as the person from the Mount Sinai, explain what type of research will be is in plan or projected to take place in Grenada? And has the Mount Sinai Institute, the school, benefited from federal funding in the U.S. and is it presently affected by the decision of the Trump administration to cut back funding for a number of institutions that engage in health research?
Thank you very much for the question. But if you don't mind, I would like to pass it to Mr. Dolan to answer this question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. As indicated by Ms. St. Bernard, research is critical, and the Minister Telesford to this hospital. And we're also not limiting it to any one party. Research is going to be for the benefit of Grenadians, and we're going to be collaborating as part of being an academic hospital with our local universities, in particular St. George's University as well. So we are working right now with St. George's University. We're also collaborating with Mount Sinai to determine the key priority areas. They have not been finalized at this moment, but again, we'll be looking to share those in probably during 2026 in greater detail as we align those research practices with the overall development and services that will be provided at the hospital.
You've realized the Minister of Health has turned into a flower pot, right? Clearly, Ms. St. Bernard is representing the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, at that presser. And then there was a couple of questions from freelance journalist, media worker, Ms. Nisha Paul. Here's her first question.
Okay, now that the agreement has been signed, what is the next course of action as we proceed?
Thank you for that question. So I want to actually, the next course of action is we continue on. As I said, we are finalizing the partnerships that we need to complete the planning for the implementation of the project. Mount Sinai is now available to us as we enter into and continue the planning of the new smart hospital. So we will be able to rely on their expertise and vast network of knowledge and resources to assist us with planning for the new hospital, including clinical services, assisting with HR, recruitment, organizational planning. So what's the next step is we continue working hard, making the plans for the new hospital, now walking hand and foot in step with Mount Sinai.
Ms. Paul went on to ask a second question, asking what can we expect of Project Polaris for the rest of 2025?
Yes, please. What can we expect to see in 2025 as it relates to this project? What can we expect to see coming on stream?
So today's a pretty big deal, 2025. So we've got an amazing new partnership that we will see the benefits for throughout 2025. Maybe not so much, it may not be as visible to the public, as I said, because it will be in the planning phases still. Other elements of the planning phase that are underway right now is the master site plan. So I believe you would be aware the medical city itself is planned for 84 acres of land in Hopevale area. The hospital itself that we're speaking of is about 10 acres. And so another significant component that we are now working on is the actual site plan, the master site plan throughout to map out that 84 acres and make the best use of it. So I can certainly say stay tuned to hear more about that. We are also beginning the design components. And so over the course of 2025, I think you will hear about our selection of design firms, which would mean we will certainly be moving forward with the hardcore design, and we would be able to bring more of that news to you.
They're going to be beginning the design phase, right? Keep that in mind. And then there was our third and final media worker who attended the great announcement press conference, Mr. Troy Gill of MTV.
Okay, excellent. Just one question. I know it's early days, but what is the plan with regards to staffing or increasing staffing to cover with regards to the new hospital? Because we know currently there are a bit of challenges with regards to understaffing, human resource, and so forth. So what is the long-term plan with regards to increasing staffing, and what sort of an arrangement is going to be with regards to increasing that human resource potential and capital as it relates to this project?
Thank you for your question, Troy.
Right. Thank you for that question, Troy. So the process of preparing for the future has begun. We need to expedite our training for our people. We have started the process, but we have to go at a faster pace in terms to be able to prepare our people. One would understand that it takes between 7 to 10 years to have specialists prepared for the system. And so we have to get all of this in motion. We have signed an agreement with the Nigerian government for some professionals, specialists to come into our system. I think it's 9 or so specialists that are coming in. And we continue to forge these strategic relationships with our partners globally to have people come into our system. We recognize that we do not and will not have all of the resources here locally. So we definitely have to hire in the resources that we do not have. So the strategy really is to, one, prepare our people while we continue to forge alliances with our global partners. I think that's a simple answer to your question.
Well, you've heard it. We're about to import Nigerians medical service workers coming from one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Interesting. Folks, just another red herring. This attempt to make time stop for a moment on the morning of April the 13th, 2025, that too fell flat. I have a feeling we're in for a long haul with this one. However, my thinking is that with this 15-year agreement signed, government is a continuum. Take a look at this video.
Welcome to Grenada, the Spice Island of the Caribbean. Known for its breathtaking beauty, vibrant culture, and now a beacon of medical excellence and innovation. The government of Grenada proudly presents the new Hopevale Climate Smart Medical City. Located in the parish of St. David, this 84-acre medical city is set to revolutionize healthcare, education, and tourism, not just in Grenada, but across the OECS. At the core of this transformation is the new state-of-the-art Smart Research Hospital. Designed with patient-centered care and community engagement in mind, it will provide value-based specialist care, innovation healthcare solutions, industry-leading medical training, and cutting-edge research. From advanced medical oncology and reconstructive plastic surgery to physical therapy, fertility treatment, stem cell therapy, and more, the medical complex and annex will offer a wide range of specialized services, ensuring comprehensive care for all. Adjacent to the hospital, a large medical complex will house private sector and grant-funded services, including a biotech incubator and accelerator, fostering medical and technological advancements. The complex also conveniently features a 4-star luxury hotel, providing comfortable accommodations for recuperating patients, individuals receiving outpatient care, family members and visitors alike. Staff and student accommodations will be located within the medical city, providing easy commutes and an elevated team member experience. With dedicated retirement homes alongside beautiful private residences for doctors, hospital executives, and returning nationals, the complex ensures a holistic community-centered environment for all. Sustainability is at the forefront, with a solar plant providing renewable energy and supporting Grenada's commitment to eco-friendly initiatives. A vibrant array of restaurants, shops, and entertainment facilities, along with fitness and wellness centers, will create a lively and engaging community atmosphere. Beautifully manicured parks, walking, running, and biking trails will offer serene spaces for relaxation and recreation, enhancing the well-being of residents, patients, and visitors alike. Seamlessly connected by a well-designed road network and ample parking ensures easy access to all facilities, providing an efficient experience for everyone. The Hopevale Medical City will be a cornerstone of Grenada's medical and retirement tourism industries, attracting individuals worldwide with its promise of high quality in an environment unmatched in beauty and tranquility. Located just 20 minutes from the capital, St. George, and the airport, Grenada offers an English-speaking, safe, and scenic Caribbean destination conveniently accessible from North America, Europe, and the Latin American region. The Hopevale Climate Smart Medical City is not just a project, it is a vision for the future, a commitment of excellence to the people of Grenada, a beacon of hope for generations to come as we move Grenada forward.
No designs. Remember Miss St. Bernard said, no designs? No designs, but picture, picture, picture. And now a beacon of medical excellence and innovation. Stop deceiving the people. This is nothing but another get-rich-quick scheme for the chosen few. Project sponsor, project lead, affiliation, 15-year agreement signed. Nothing but a gigantic Ponzi scheme. Let me tell you what a Ponzi scheme is. A Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investment scheme that pays returns to early investors using money from new investors rather than from profits generated by the business. It's named after Italian businessman Charles Ponzi, who used this tactic to lure investors. The scheme often misleads investors by falsely implying legitimate business activities or by exaggerating the profitability of these activities. In essence, the scheme relies on constantly recruiting new investors to sustain the illusion or profit and pay returns to existing investors. Nothing but a Ponzi scheme. Grenadians are wiser than that. People, it's our children and our grandchildren that will be on this piece of rock when it becomes Little Haiti. Grenada will be left penniless and loaded with debt while these guys ride off into the sunset, laughing all the way to their offshore banks. And we'll see nothing like what is being shown in that video there. Picture, picture. We have to stop it now. We have to stop them now. A better Grenada is possible without them. Folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for joining us on yet another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye now.
Grenada, the time has come. It's the big showdown in the first ever Classic Lighted and the Communal Credit Union Invitational 2025. Come witness the Royal Grenada Police Force and His Majesty's prison officers take on the nation's busmen and women in an epic 4x1 relay. Then it's Flow versus DG Sal. And don't miss out, Nawasa, who will be flooding Grinlek in the ultimate relay. All this and more, May 17th and 18th at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Adults, $30. Children, $15. Season passes are available. It's a showdown like no other. Be there.
This event sponsored by the Communal Credit Union, NTRC, Dana's Restaurant, Blue Bubbles, PA Rentals, Event Supplies, Dee's Sports Shop, George F. Huggins and Company Limited, Flow, Mikey Live, Poly Natural Spring Water, MTV, GBN and Digicel.
Be there.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.